Hey, welcome to the show. Every Sunday afternoon, we answer your home improvement questions. My name is Jared Mellick. Sitting next to me is my father, Ken.
Hey, everyone.
Surprise, surprise.
This show is all about your questions, so we're looking forward to your calls.
Where are you? You're in the house. The show's called In the House, all about home improvement and construction. If you have a project that you're working on and you want to know how to get to the next step, or if there's something in the house that you need to fix, you want to know how to get started with it, well, this is the place to be, whether it's a structural question, electrical, plumbing, anything having to do with home improvement. We will take those calls. Again, the number is 407-297-9696 or toll-free 855-297-9696. My name is Jared Mellick, and normally sitting next to me is my father, Ken. He actually had a flat tire on the way over, so he may make it, may not. But either way, I'll be able to answer those home improvement questions. Ken and I own a business. It's called Universal Roof and Contracting. We are both roofing and building contractors as well as residential contractors. And throughout the week, we help people with all kinds of home improvement needs, from additions, remodeling, kitchens, bathrooms, windows, siding, roofing. That's the type of work that we do on a weekly basis, and helping you at your house. And then every weekend we come in and answer your home improvement questions. We've been doing this radio show thing for about 14 years now. So we would welcome any questions. You can try to stump me if you want. That's all right. I'll let you know if I don't know the answer. A lot of the stuff I do. But if you want to be part of the show, again, 407-297-9696. All right, let's go straight to the phones. Let's talk to Jonathan in Alachua. Jonathan, you're in the house. Go ahead, brother.
Hi, Jared.
Hey there.
A friend of mine just bought a house. It's got an attached screen room. The roof leaks. Mm-hmm. The roof is made out of laminated panels. They've got they're probably polystyrene inside with an aluminum skin.
Yep.
The panels are about 8 to 9 feet long. Mm-hmm. They're not supported in the middle by anything. Just there's a U channel screwed to the house.
Yep.
And then a beam at about the 8-foot level.
Okay.
And I assume I need to get out on that roof to look and see what's going on. But and they're about 3 inches thick. I've heard that some people say you can't stand on them.
I need to ask you one question before I can determine whether or not you can stand on them or not. How wide are the panels? Do they have a seam every 12 inches, or do they have a seam every 4 foot?
4 foot.
Okay. That is what we call an elite panel. It is an insulated roof. That, in general, is walkable. The ones that have a seam every 12 inches are not, but the ones that have a seam every 4 foot are at least designed to take some weight. Now, what's you tipping the scale at there, Jonathan?
Thankfully, only 135.
Okay. So, yeah, you're going to be fine. I wouldn't go out there and throw a party and bring bags of cement with you, but it's all right for you to walk on it. Obviously, test in a couple areas first just to make sure that you're not going to fall through. But in general, those 4-foot wide panels are designed to be at least somewhat walkable. So it is okay. All right. So now we've got the part down, whether or not you can walk on it, now let's talk about how to fix those leaks, because I'm sure it's leaking, right?
It is leaking, and it appears to be dripping, at least when you look at it from the underside, from the seams. Mm-hmm. And when I did look at it from the edge, from a ladder, and I saw 2 problems. Number one, it looks like somebody has in the past glopped up the seams with caulk.
Right.
And around the edges, there's some kind of a tape-looking stuff that's kind of sticking up here and there. Yep,
it is a peel and stick tape that they use at the seams. These panels, the problem with them, the good thing about them, they'll never leak in the main body of the panel because it's a solid piece of aluminum. But every 4 foot there's a seam, and then where it transitions to the house there's a seam, and then where it transitions to the outer edge, typically where there's a gutter, there's a seam there. So all of those areas are really designed to leak. They basically, the panels kind of slide together, and then they'll either caulk that seam or they'll put a tape over that seam. And the problem is that when you rely on caulking or that tape to keep water out, that will separate over time, and then water will come in. So most of them leak. I mean, I'm out to houses all the time, and I would say that probably 95% of them leak, and the other 5% just haven't leaked yet. So there's only one solution that I've ever found to fix it, but it fixes it every single time. There's a roofing material that we use. It's called HydroStop, HYDRO-STOP, HydroStop. It's a fluid-applied, fabric-reinforced roofing material that we use, and we pressure wash the whole thing, and then we use that material, adhere it directly to the aluminum, and what it does is it takes all of those seams away because it's fluid applied, and we make it on site to the exact dimensions that pan roof is. When it's finished, there are no seams, so therefore the water can't actually get to the seam and leak inside. Anything short of that, I've never seen work permanently. So no matter how many times you go up there and caulk it, no matter how many times you go up there and seal it, no matter how many times you go up there and put asphalt on it or tar on it or whatever or even just the coatings that you buy at the home improvement store, I've never seen them work permanently. And so the good thing is that there's a solution. The bad thing is I don't know that it's necessarily a do-it-yourself project. We had to send all of our guys to North Carolina to get trained in the stuff. Wow. It's not anything that you can just buy as a consumer. You can't go to the big box store and buy it. It's not that expensive of a process, it's really, as roofing material goes, it's one of the least expensive type of jobs. But as a do-it-yourselfer, I just don't know that there's a whole lot you can do. Well,
I appreciate your depth of knowledge.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck with that. And if you do, if you go to the website, hydro-stop.com, or if you go to our website, which is universalroof.com, there's a link to HydroStop on there. And you can read some more information. And if you decide you want to, have us come take a look at it and give you an estimate, then we have no problem in doing that. Or if you even want to send me some pictures with a dimension, then I'll be able to give you an estimate on it as well. But it's not that expensive, but it will work. It'll never leak again.
Don't work up. Do you come up to Alachua?
We do. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm impressed.
Yep.
Thank you, Jared.
No problem. Thank you. Have a great day. Number to take his line, 407-297-9696. Toll free, 855-297-9696. All right, let's go to Kimberly in Port Orange. Kimberly, go ahead.
Now my heart problem.
Okay.
I had a rodent problem in my attic. I live in an area subdivision has multiple retention ponds.
Right.
And I have a screened-in porch or pool, and I had rodents in my attic. I had a guy come out, and they had literally chewed a hole in my roof, and he said an entrance area where over the doorway the small roof meets the other part of the roof, and there's a piece of, I don't know, aluminum.
Yeah, it's called a return, is what that is.
The return.
Mm-hmm.
They had chewed, and they were able to get through them.
Mm-hmm.
He sealed we got rid of it. He trapped them all. He got rid of all the rodents. Lo and behold, 2 months later, they're back.
Yeah.
They chewed right through what he did, and they chewed. He put wire, and then he sprayed foam,
mm-hmm.
and they chewed a new hole. I resorted. I was so desperate. I went and I put bait up there. Now I'm dealing with the smell, which is atrocious.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible.
But I have traps. I have multiple traps. I have the glue traps. And they just know them. They won't even go around them.
Sure.
What more can I do?
Yeah, this is the thing where I actually went through this a couple years ago as well. And I had rats in my attic, and I tried everything to try to figure out where they were coming in, and I know some stuff. I know some stuff. I'm just not like a regular guy. I mean, I know a lot about home improvement. I know a lot about this process, And so I went around my whole house and I put metal mesh everywhere that I could figure out, and they were still coming in. And so then I ended up calling a buddy of mine who does this, and he came over, and within a couple minutes he found a spot that I hadn't even thought of. It was actually by my garage door, and so he put a little piece of flashing by my garage door, and since then never had one problem. And so the thing is that the people who do this on a daily basis, who are really, really good at it, they see things that we would just normally wouldn't see. And then I've never had a problem since then. So if you want, if you hold on, or if you email me, I can send you his contact information, and he's phenomenal. So I would probably recommend him. If you've tried to do it yourself and it's just not working, then at that point I'd say it's good to hire a professional. Okay.
Well, look, can I ask you what is, because I did have a professional here, and he wouldn't guarantee the work. When you put that's what my question is. What kind of product could I put over these holes that I'm finding?
Sure.
But I do know where most of the holes are.
So, Kimberly, you had a professional come out to try to fix it, and the rodents ate through the material that they had installed?
Yes, sir, They did.
Yeah, I would say that you need to find a different professional is the first thing, because don't get me wrong, I've seen rodents eat through wood and all kinds of different materials, but somebody who's really good at it would know to use a material that they literally can't get through. And if you go to the home improvement stores, you can get there's different qualities of the fabric mesh or metal mesh, chicken wire type stuff that they use, and you want to use one that's a heavier gauge so that way they can't actually get through it. And then the area at my home where I had a problem, they actually took just a piece of flashing, just like a piece of metal basically, and bent it to the right shape. It was a solid piece of aluminum that they bent to the right shape to fit into the area to be able to make it so the rodents didn't get through. So
okay, all right. So I can just go to one of the home improvement stores and get like steel wool or.
Yeah, it's not steel wool. Some call it critter guard, but it's actually a rolled, almost like chicken wire, except it's either aluminum or galvanized steel, and it comes in rolls. But yeah, you can get it at the home improvement store.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kimberly. We appreciate your call. Let's talk to Dave in Winter Springs. Dave, you're in the house. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, thank you. I've got a 1,850 square foot home over in Winter Springs, and had a couple of roofing nails back out through the shingles and caused a little small leak, and I patched that kind of stuff up. But the shingles are definitely past their prime, lost a lot of the little mineral, and I'd like to get some information about how that roof replacement job would be priced, and what are some possible scenarios or other issues that might come up that I guess would require additional cost, once the roof is stripped off. So
sure.
Any information along those lines would help out.
Yeah, I'll tell you about a number of things. I mean, we're a local company that does, a home improvement company. We do roofing as well, and so I'm actually very familiar with this process. So a couple of things. One is there's a section on our website, which is universalroof.com, and there's, if you search up at the top, roof replacement, there's a blog that we did that actually goes through the entire process of what you should look for when replacing a roof. A lot of great questions that you may not even think about asking that you should. So that's the first thing. That way, after you get off the air, then you can look at that. But let me tell you about a number of things that you should look for. The thing is that buying a roof is an important process because, first of all, you don't buy one every day, thankfully, right? Because they're expensive, and so you typically buy one every 20, 25 years, and so it's not something that you would normally think of. And so there's the quality of the material is incredibly important. The quality of the installer that you have is incredibly important, and making sure that they do a lot of things correctly. So there also within that section is how to choose a contractor. It gives you some specific questions that you should ask, us or any other roofing contractor that you have to come out to take a look at it. One of the things that you had raised as a potential problem is something that is really common, which is what happens if when you tear the roof off, you find some sort of problem underneath of it. The only thing that we typically don't know in advance is whether or not you have any rotted or broken or deteriorated decking. So one of the things that is important is that whatever contractor you choose, make sure that they have a set price for wood replacement, either by the square foot or by the board. Some contractors will do a time and materials rate for wood replacement. So they'll say, okay, it's so much for material and then so much an hour for the guys, or so much. And the problem with that is that's kind of ambiguous. I'd much rather, I think it's a better way to do it is to have a set square footage price, so that way anybody can measure it. And if it's 32 square feet, then it's 32 square feet. If it's 100 square feet, it's 100 square feet. And then you just price it accordingly. But that's the only thing that you don't really know until you get into it, is the extent of the damage underneath of it. Even if you get in the attic and take a look at it, it's still hard to tell, because there's times where it looks fine from underneath, but then when you actually tear the roof off, there's some rot there. So that is one of the things to be cautious of, is making sure that it's very set in advance. Okay, what happens if there is some sort of hidden damage?
Okay.
So one of the other things is that is looking at good quality materials. And of course, when you're getting an estimate from contractors, most people get 3 estimates, and so you get to compare the different materials that everybody is recommending. If it's asphalt shingles, my personal preference is a company called Certainteed. I think that they make the best shingles on the market right now. That's who I would personally use, but there's major manufacturers, so as long as you use one of the major manufacturers, you should be okay. There's also different warranties that the manufacturers have. I do recommend architectural shingles, not the flat old 3-tab shingles. The architectural are much better. They look better. They're thicker. They last longer. They're heavier, and so those are typically what I'm gonna recommend.
Yeah, that's what the home has now, is the nice architectural shingles.
Good. Well, there's different styles of architectural, and so most of the time when you're getting estimates, most contractors are going to give multiple options. Architectural is a term that we use that kind of there's really different styles of architectural. There's actually 5 or 6 different styles of architectural shingles. So most common is what's called a laminated architectural. So that's what you're going to find most of the time. But we'd be honored to give you an estimate on it, and if you want to call our office, it's 407-295-7403. Again, 407-295-7403.
Sure, I'll do that. One other question. Sure. About the color of the shingles on the new roof. Mm-hmm. Does that make a big difference in the temperature inside the home or attic?
It can.
With a lighter color.
Yeah, it can. The difference between you're going to have the light ones, you're going to have a medium one, and then you're going to have a dark one. So the difference between the light and the dark, then yes, there is some significant temperature differences. The problem with the light ones, though, is that understand that a roof serves multiple purposes. One of those is to keep the water out. Another one of those is, if it's light, it's going to reflect some of the sun. But another one of the purposes of a roof is aesthetic. It's designed to be, most houses, it's 50 to 60% of the look of the front of the house. And the problem with most of the light ones is that they're just not that pretty. Some manufacturers will make reflective roofing material or reflective shingles that aren't necessarily the light color. They actually use ceramic granules, so you're able to get a medium to dark color and still have it reflect more of the sun. And so we are using a lot more of those over the last number of years. So it's not just the color that makes a difference. It's the type of granule and the type of shingle that it is. So lighter isn't necessarily cooler with some of them. And just because even when you go from the lightest to the darkest, the temperature difference is in the single digit percentage differences. It's not like it's the difference between 150 and 75. You know what I mean? It's not like it's half the temperature. The more important thing is the ventilation system. What actually allows the hot air out of the attic space, and I see that probably 70 to 80% of the houses that we go out to are underventilated, and most contractors don't understand the process of ventilation. They think that more is better. In fact, I actually had an engineer this week send me an email. He wanted to write the specs for his own roof, and he wrote the specs for the roof. And he's an engineer. I mean, this is what he does. And he had the same theory that more ventilation is better. And he had actually spec'd two different types of ventilation that actually work against each other. And so he would have been better off dropping one of those ventilation systems instead of using both of them. And so I had to go over ventilation with him. And he's an engineer. And so most roofing contractors don't understand the ventilation process. And so it is a really key thing. And one of the other things that you may want to think about as you do it, if you're worried about the temperature, is you're going to get a much better temperature difference by doing some sort of radiant barrier or thermal barrier on the underside of the roof deck to reduce some of that heat that transfers down into the attic space. So you'd get a lot of times people use a medium color, but then use a thermal barrier so that way they get the best of both worlds. They get a material that actually looks good, and then they use a radiant material to stop the heat from getting in the attic.
Now, does that go between the roof trusses on the underside of the decking?
There's a lot of different ways to do it. And so I could do a whole show basically on different insulation and radiant materials. And so I don't know which one makes the most amount of sense for you, but a couple different styles that we see. There's a rollout radiant barrier that, yes, typically is nailed or stapled between the trusses. There's thermal barriers like spray foam insulation that go on the underside of the roof deck. Not the full closed cell like what we see in new construction, but this is just a thin layer to stop the heat from transferring through. And then there's also liquid aluminum radiant materials that are sprayed on the underside of the roof deck that is sprayed on the bottom or top cord of the truss as well as the plywood. So there's all kinds of different ones, and I don't know which one I would recommend at your house before I see it, but
right, I understand.
But there's a lot of different options.
Huh.
So.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Thank you. I appreciate your call. And again, the name of our business, Universal Roofing Contracting. And again, we'd be honored to give you an estimate on that roof replacement. You can also visit our website, universalroof.com, and there's a lot more information on there as well. All right, let's go to John in Orlando. John, you're in the house. Go ahead, brother.
Right. My question is on hardy board.
Uh-huh.
I'm planning on using some, and I was told it's very brittle, and you have to pre-drill the holes before you put your fasteners through it. That's true, or what's the problem?
No, I mean, a lot of people will, with hardy board, the same way that, a lot of times when you blow your nose, you grab a Kleenex, right? Well, not all of the tissues that you buy are Kleenex, and not all of the cement board material that you buy is actually hardy board. So I have found that the other manufacturers of cement board siding are not quite as durable as what hardy board is. And then hardy also has different grades of material as well. So I'm a big fan of hardy board. I think it's a great option. Is it more brittle than wood is? I don't know. Possibly. It depends on what width of sections you get and which material you use. There's some that are thicker than others and some that are thinner. The thinner panels, yes, are more brittle than the equal thickness of wood, but it's a lot more durable than what wood is. It's not going to rot the way that wood will. So the only time that the brittleness of it is even really a factor is if during transport of it, if it's that if it's not supported correctly, then you can have some cracking to it. But once it's installed, the brittleness doesn't really matter. What you want is the durability of it and the fact that it won't rot. And so I find that it's much better than what wood is or what vinyl is. So. And then in regards to pre-drilling the holes, when you get close to the edge, then yes, it's a good idea to pre-drill those. But if you're talking about just in the field, then no, typically you're going to find that we're not pre-drilling those. And really finding no problem in cracking or brittleness.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, we appreciate your call. Are you thinking about replacing some siding on your house, and is that...
Yes, the eaves.
Just the soffits?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Hardie does have a vented soffit, and then they have a non-vented soffit. I actually just replaced the soffit at my house with Hardie, but I had done a closed attic system for insulation, and so I replaced all of my soffit. It had the old aluminum that was bent in different places, and it was coming down in a lot of different areas, and so I tore all that out, and I did new Hardie soffit and new Hardie fascia, and it's phenomenal. I mean, I love it. So I would, obviously, it's something that I would recommend doing because I did it on my own house. So.
All right. Again, thank you.
No problem. Thanks a lot. We appreciate your call.